Gillian's presentation is a day in the life of a student with a visual impairment on campus. And I suppose it's more than just on campus these days, isn't it? It's remote as well.
It is, yes.
So without further ado, I'll let you go ahead. And I can see everything okay there. We just need to probably just put it on the play presentation and it should be good to go, I think.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gillian Stafford, and I'm just going to ask Christine to put up a poll that'll be on for the next 2 minutes. My title is A Day in the Life of a Student with a Visual Impairment on campus, and also a bit about the COVID-19 as well. So I'm currently doing a Master's in Social Policy and Human Rights in Maynooth University. I graduated last September with a BA in Social Science, and I am going to finish my Master's in July this year. And I am the first one in my family to go to third level education, and I also have a visual disability.
A lot coming through on the poll.
Sorry, it's after sticking on me.
No problem at all. I'll just read out the poll as well, Gillian, just so everyone has it. So it's imagine you are a student on campus and you see someone with a long cane who is looking lost. What do you do? Option 1, approach them and ask them if they need help. Option 2, walk straight by them. Option 3, ask them where they are going and would they like you to bring them to the location. Option 4, other. Or option 5, I don't know what to do.
Sorry, now my screen is just frozen on me.
Don't worry at all. We've got lots of people busy looking at this poll anyway, so there's plenty to go through there. You just let me know if you want me to do anything on this side.
No, do you know what? It was just on my phone. The poll froze it on my phone, so it wouldn't.
The beauties of technology.
Yeah,
when it works.
You know, it's fine. It's just when the poll came up, it seemed to freeze the whole thing on me. So I'm okay. I think it's okay now.
Perfect. You let me know when you want me to end the poll.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
I'm just going to end the poll, and then will I share the results with you?
Yeah, you can share the results. Yeah.
Okay. So everyone should see that. So that's number 1. Approach them and ask if they need help. 70%. Ask if. Yeah. Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see that's really high. I didn't expect it to be that high.
And then the 23% ask where they are going and would they like you to bring them to the location. And then 5% I don't know what to do, and 2% walk straight by them.
Yeah, the top one, I was very surprised because sometimes people don't know what to do. So that's it's great to see that people actually know what to do.
Okay, will I stop sharing those now?
Yes, please. Yeah.
No problem. So you might need to just X out of the poll. I think individually, if anyone still sees the poll box in front of them. And then once it is, I'd say, Gillian, if you want to click on the next, on the slide itself, it might move along.
Okay, good. Yeah, it does. Thank you.
No problem.
So I'm going to talk a bit about my experience on campus versus someone else's. When I started college, it was a big challenge for me. It's up to this day, it still is a challenge. I don't use a long cane as a symbol, so a lot of people think that I'm normal, but I don't have any side vision for getting around campus. So I find it very challenging to get around campus when it's busy. I also find it very hard to get resources for me. So a lot of the books that are online don't work with my software. So I rely on a note taker. I also have a PA who helps me. But the problem with that is that the note takers that I have aren't interested in my subjects because they're not doing my degree. And you're also relying on someone who has to transfer the books into audio, which takes a long time. So you can't get your stuff done as quick as another person. So it's very hard and it's very stressful to get things done. You're also having to chase them up. So in my 4 years I've been on college, I haven't been able to get involved in a lot of clubs and societies or extracurricular activities because I didn't have the time. I was in so many meetings to get things that I needed done through access, through my departments, which I would have been lost without. I wouldn't have come out with my degree if I didn't have them. One of the big difference that I have found on campus that I have experienced is that because I look normal and I don't use a symbol to show that I'm visually impaired, a lot of the times, especially in classes, when people found out I had this, they didn't believe that I had my disability. So felt like I didn't fit in on campus, I didn't fit in my class, but I still kept going and I still got support from my access office, from my family, and it kept me going through college, and I ended up graduating and going on to do my master's. So the big one at the moment, which I'm struggling with, is remote learning with the COVID-19. I have a new laptop which has been working fine in the college, but since I've had to go online and do meetings with Zoom or with Office 365, I have found that with this, that my software I use is too big to use with another package on the laptop I have. So it means I'm relying on my college lecturers to help me out with materials that I need. My parents are very good. They help me to read stuff for me. But it's not ideal. I want to be independent. I was independent when I was in college. But since I've come home to work with Wi-Fi not working, laptops not working properly, that I feel like my independence has been taken away from me, that I can't learn the way I was learning when I was in college. So hopefully going forward, that when things do come back in September, that there will be more experience of how to work with laptops that work with different softwares for people with disabilities. So my personal recommendations from my lived experiences is that colleges are making changes in the right direction, but there are a few suggestions that maybe I could give that would improve students on campus with a visual disability. So my main one would be that have more accessible documents or more books, or if you're able to, that the departments would be more aware of how to put their documents and their PowerPoints and their lecture notes into more accessible documents. One of the ones I have found at the moment is that I'm getting documents from my department, but they have voiceover on them, the recordings over them. So my voiceover doesn't know whether to go by the lecture or to go by what's on the page. So it's a big thing to try and decipher which I should be learning. Is it the recording or the notes that are on the system? So it would be great if departments had a bit more training in how documents are accessible for anyone with a disability who are on campus, and maybe have some more ebooks online that softwares can read. That we may not be able to read the books online, but if a lecturer needs that book in our assignment, that we would be able to access that book online, so that we're not having marks taken away from us. So my big thing is that awareness is key. So from my experience, I would like to see that on the first week when you do an orientation week, when you're coming into college, is that I would like to see that the people who are giving this, that they have disability awareness training during orientation week. Because when I started college, I found that it was hard to get around and to get through that week of orientation and how to get around campus. But in my first year, I became an orientation leader, and as part of my work, I helped to help them in training, and anyone that worked on that team with a disability. We were able to train them, and then when they started the following year, they were able to bring the students around to a disability because they were trained in it. Another thing I would suggest is that maybe have students who are already on campus or people from outside organisations who have lived experience with a visual impairment or whatever the disability is to come and talk to students on campus. Because I know that when we use our voice and we talk to students, that students who are in a class with you that don't know about your disability, they actually learn more from it, and they accommodate more to what you may need in a class if you ask them for help. Where if they don't know what your disability is, they kind of walk away from you, or they don't know what to do with different things when you're in a class. I would also like to see that staff and disability officers and students would have refresher courses that they would be able to join up to throughout the year. I'd like to see disability awareness campaigns being held throughout the year. I know the last couple of years, the Students' Union have done a lot around different disabilities. They have a week, each year, that has a different disability, and they do the whole week around it, and people can go in and take part in different activities that they're able to do. Last year we had a week where people were able to wear blindfolds, and they were able to make sandwiches. They were able to go out on a cycle with it on. They were able to do some training about how to lead a person who are blind or visually impaired around the campus if they were leading them, helping them around college or around the class. And I think this would be very beneficial for all students and staff to take part in if it's on, because then they get more awareness around that disability, and that they may not know what that disability is or what the student is having to go through on a day-to-day basis. One thing I found which was helpful that was done in my class is that we suggested that what the students that were in my class, if I was doing teamwork, that the students would wear blindfolds, and they would sit with me in a class, and they would try and figure out how to get around the class, and how they could, so they would wear special glasses, and they would be able to read the material the way I would read my material, and then we would be able to work out a plan of how I was going to be able to present in that module for as part of my class. Now, some students would like this, other students didn't like to do it, but it gave them an understanding when I was trying to present. If I couldn't see what they were asking me to present, it gave them an idea, well, we need to change this, and we need to find a way to have this student participate in the class, so you don't feel like you're being left behind. Because a lot of the times I find, even when I'm in class, even in my fourth year, is that I don't have the notes, I don't have the books that I need the night before to read to go into a tutorial or a class, and I don't know where they're going with it, or I don't know what's going to happen in it. So it would be great that if we could get like reading lists, or that the note taker can have good notes and they are interested in what you're trying to take, because even though they're not doing the degree, they're taking notes for you to be able to go and sit at home when you're going to your assignment. And if you can't understand the notes they're taking, then you don't feel like you can do an assignment to the best of your ability. So I think a lot of the times that I think a lot of awareness needs to be given to the class, and that the class needs to find out that from the start what the disability is for that student when they're in a class of 60 or 70. And if you're not keeping up with, especially around teamwork or different things you've participated in, that it's not because you don't want to take part, it's because you just can't see the material that has been given to you to take part in the class. So as part of the slides that are going to be put up, there is a video on how to guide a blind or partially sighted person. If you would like to have a look at that when the presentation is over. And also just to be aware that if you are on campus and you see, or you're out and about and you see someone who may be struggling, that there's no harm in going up and asking that person if they need help, or if you're in a class as a lecturer or as a student, that if you think somebody is struggling, that there's no harm in going down and saying to them, can I help you? Can I do anything for you? Sometimes we just don't like to ask for help. And sometimes we're just struggling with so much going on with materials and accessibility that we are afraid to maybe ask another person in the class to say, can you help me with this? But my big thing is that if you ask for help, that person can come and help you. And don't be worried that if you're falling behind in something, that you're relying on the other people to do the work for you, that it's not your fault that you're falling behind, that it's somebody has to do the extra work for you. So you need to be asking them to be on the same time as you. And if they don't give it, then you need to go and talk to your access officer and see what can be done to get things back on track. So I want to thank you very much for listening. And that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you so much, Gillian.
Is that okay?
That was brilliant. That was absolutely fantastic. You know, something that came across really strong for me there in your presentation was, I suppose, just looking at kind of empowerment. I just felt, you know, you really did take the bull by the horns. I love that piece on orientation. I myself, when I was in college, was a guide, and it's not actually till I actually started in a head that I kind of got the proper training on certain things, like how do you guide someone and things like that. I think that you were an orientation leader, and you know, you took it on to train everybody else about these things. I think that's fantastic. It's really brilliant.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a big thing, but you could see it then. This year was the first year we actually had 3 or 4 visually impaired or blind students coming in, and the team that were doing guided tours or leading them, they knew how to guide them this year, where the first year I came in, I was left behind. No one knew what to do because they'd never had someone. They had someone who was blind before, but not someone, as I say, in the seeing world. So you have some vision, but you're losing your vision, so you're in between. They'd never dealt with someone like that before. So when I got part of the orientation leader, when I got my role, the first time I talked to the guy who was running and said, can we do this? Is this possible to do? And every year that I'm working with them, we do it in the training in the summer before they start in September.
That's brilliant. And that is like your first, you know, like you were kind of saying, it's not about that it, you know, you don't have the material there for you. It's your very first experience for a lot of people of college, that orientation time. So when you're able to see that someone is there and knows what you need, I mean, that's a key. That's so crucial, I think.
It is, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, do we want to, I know that there was a few comments coming up there, and I might just ask Trevor if you wouldn't mind coming back on, and maybe I think we have 1 or 2 questions for you, Gillian, if you want to get a bit of water.
Hello. Yeah, well, Gillian, thanks a lot. That was absolutely fantastic. And again, I think, you know, what you're saying is going to resonate with a lot of people, especially the attendees here, just about that kind of awareness that you're generating. So people with impairments can just feel like they belong and feel included on campuses. There's a lot of things there. Well, first of all, a lot of great compliments. Mary McCarthy says, thanks so much, Gillian. I agree about awareness training for those giving orientation sessions should be mandatory in all colleges. And I think that's something probably Hannah kind of would advocate as well, because that's kind of getting that training in at the beginning of the year, you know, has payoff then throughout the whole academic year for all those kind of new students then for the year as well. And then so many kind of nice comments as well, and actually so many people are promoting bookshare.ie. Thanks Lena for that post about accessible titles, and Jane Ennis as well with more resources about Bookshare. I think you're just kind of getting people thinking about accessibility as well from what you're saying, so they're sharing resources, and just loads of people just saying thanks Gillian, really well done. So I think even one person just had applause in brackets. So again,
it was very hard to do. It was very hard to get it down, because when it was an hour, it was very hard to get it down into kind of a bite-sized one. So I kind of took the main kind of points from it to try and get the main points across. So
yeah, well, Ginny, I think even that bit just about training alone is going to be kind of key, just for people when they go back to their institutions, hopefully, they'll be asking whoever provides the training, staff training, to consider that kind of specific training about, awareness of disabilities and how to interact and be appropriate and, around students with disabilities. Again, it's all part of that, making everyone feel like they belong. And sorry, I'm going to go to the Q&A because I will just chat too much. So Barbara Waters asks, what's your experience of staff in library and learning resources? Are they up to speed in helping with accessible books and documents?
The quick answer is no, they're not up to date, but they are doing work around it. So when I went in first year and second year, even my final year, we've had meetings with them, and they are working to get more accessible stuff in. But again, it's funding and it's training. So they know that there are, they can get accessible stuff, but it's, as I say, because I was the first person on the campus with my type of disability, they were learning with me. So I would say that if someone came in this year, the same disability, or if I came in this year, that they would have more experience of working with a student like me. And because even the Access Office and my lectures and all, we had to do like work, and it only kind of really came into place in final year. So it took the 3 years to get it going, because they had work. But as I found out, that students, if they come in now, they would have a plan of where to go with that. So it would be much easier to get stuff accessible for them.
Okay, and just you're saying something there that's getting me thinking. Like, so when universities start thinking about, purchasing kind of online books or accessible books, like, is that part of the procurement process? Like, as in, is accessible books seen as a mandatory as part of, like, things that universities or colleges will purchase? So, I mean, I would love to kind of see, from the very, very beginning, when colleges and libraries and that are thinking about procuring, online systems, that accessibility is seen as essential in order for the procurement to go through fully. So I'd love to see that. And again, sorry, another question from Barbara Waters. Are note takers able to give you the notes electronically in good time for you to study?
It depends on the note taker.
Okay.
So sometimes I have really good note takers, and I would literally they would be in the class with me, and I would have them, I would finish a lecture and I would have the notes within an hour. Others would say, right, you're not getting them, and the time limit I would have would be, the max would be 48 hours, but some of them would leave it for a week. So then you have to chase them, and you chase them, because I could be in a lecture, say, not for them, it's not as bad for my master's, but then the undergrad, I was like, there'd be an lecture on a Tuesday, and then I'd have one on the Thursday, and the notes from the Tuesday I would need to have read by the Thursday, or have a piece read. So it depends on the way the note taker works, and how, as I would say, how diligent the note taker is. Because with my 2 subjects I did, all I kept getting from note takers was, well, it's taken me a while to do your note because I'm not interested in your subjects, they're too dense, they're too hard for me to understand. So it's taken me longer to do your notes for you. So it depends on the note taker and how quick they do them.
Okay. So at least you're probably in a service that at least you can approach your disability staff about this kind of issue anyway. So that's good as well. There's a question here from Anne Fogarty. She just wants to say, can I ask what technologies you use?
Yeah, so I use Zoom Text Fusion is the one I use. And then I use the one on so I use my iPhone, and then I use the software on my iPhone.
Okay. And how do you find Zoom Text Fusion?
It's good, but it's not great. What it does is that a lot of my documents would be, because it's social policy, there'd be a lot of tables and graphs in it. So if it sees that, it doesn't like that. So it'll read plain text, but it doesn't read images, or it doesn't read PowerPoints if they've images, or because they see them as pictures. So then I have to get somebody to actually physically take them out and put them into another document, or record the whole document for me. So
and I think that kind of goes back to a point you made in your presentation, isn't it, about staff being aware of how to make accessible online content as well. So, that kind of awareness of training of like how to make accessible documents and PowerPoints for someone like yourself would be key. And again, don't take very much effort, just kind of get the key things
As in,
done.
like when I went back to that said lecture, as soon as I got them and explained to her, she actually spent the whole of a weekend and she totally changed the PowerPoints around. But when she changed them around for me, other people in the class were saying, thank you for doing that, because we couldn't figure it out either, but didn't want to ask.
Wow.
So
can we get an award for that staff member? I just feel like that person deserves something. Yeah, that's phenomenal.
Yeah,
Okay.
Well, listen, I don't know if we're going to get a chance to go through many more questions. I think we might actually just, if it's okay, Gillian and Trevor, we might just ask everyone to come back into the room. That's been waiting in the wings so patiently and kindly. So can we bring back Hannah, Vicky, Christina? Once again, guys, thank you so much for an absolutely phenomenal session. I really am sorry that we didn't get around to all of the questions today, but I do think it is good to maybe bring the session to a close with some final reflections from you guys, because it's all about making it as student-centered as possible. So who better to finish off the session than yourselves? So does anyone have any final reflections? Any thoughts that came to mind kind of over the last while, maybe that you think it would be important to voice, considering that there's, a wide range of people, from educators, policymakers, kind of listening now?
Well, I'd say definitely more funding to the colleges to provide the support services that are needed. And I think, the online with the disability office would be actually a positive step forward, for disclosure.
How about yourself, Christina? Any final reflections?
Well, the two things I took from it was disclosure and accessibility was the big things that, the funding for colleges big time with laptops and that, just, provide them with laptops with the software on it and make things more accessible, like documents, either by printing out things maybe, or just, putting it on a different kind of software so everybody can access documents and files and lecture notes, instead of the struggle of having to go the hard way in like note takers and that. Just make things more accessible, I think would be a massive step forward.
Absolutely. And I think Trevor and Lorraine are definitely looking at this with their accessibility webinar series. If I'd be so cheeky
shameless plug.
A shameless plug. So they've already had one on how to make Word documents accessible, and you've another one, is it next Tuesday?
I think, is it next Tuesday? It's the Tuesday after the bank holiday Monday. So
I've
whenever
forgotten
that is.
where days are.
Time is blurring. I have a feeling it's Tuesday week.
Tuesday week.
Possibly. But anyway,
it's on the website, isn't it?
It's on the website. Yes. Yes, it sure is. But like that, so that's why I suppose I'm resonating with what Gillian is saying as well, because again, I just think that staff training is just so important, because that is really the key to kind of addressing a lot of these kind of issues as well. Just whether it's about awareness of disability or training staff about just simple changes they can make to the documents and the content they provide students, as well as recording as well. So what Christina's point about recording lectures as well, just really, really important.
And how about yourself, Gillian? Any final reflections or kind of things that kind of have come up for you that you'd like to say?
Just that just be a little bit more aware, and a little bit I suppose the best way to say it is, don't assume that every student in your class is the same. Some people are in there with a disability that maybe not have the courage or the confidence to disclose what they have. Just be aware and accessibility of documents, and that your students are not all the same in your class.
Absolutely. God, I feel like there's really a rally going on here, Hannah. I hope you're going to be capturing all of this fantastic momentum and bringing it to the forum or wherever, to the Twitter. I hope that this continues,
Yeah. I think it's an important point as well that I am continually impressed by Christina, Vicky and Gillian over the couple of months that we've been working on this panel and getting to know each other and you sharing your experiences. But I think it is also very important to be aware of the fact that not everyone is where these three women are in their journey, and not all students are so able to articulate their needs and what supports that they need. So I think it's important that we take away from this the importance of that awareness piece is first and foremost so important, so that, you know, when a student does pick up the courage to disclose or does reach out for that support that they need, that they're met with understanding, or at least the ability to be flexible and to learn. So I think that's really important.
Brilliant. And I know that there is the student learner survey, which was mentioned earlier on the impact of COVID, which Hannah was working on, and that is available on the AHEAD website. And I think the student forum, people can contact yourself, Hannah, directly, is it, if they want to be involved with the network of students basically that are coming together through the student forum. I think I put up your email address there, and I think that is going to be fantastic. I'm really looking forward to seeing where that goes from there, and where you guys all go from here.